Welcome back to One Piece Anime Review. This is episode number 44. This we're reviewing the 830th episode of the One Piece Anime Family Gathering. The Curtain Rises, the Tea Party from Hell. Yeah, that's what literally this title, though, or at least it's also called The Family Gets Together, the Hellish Party Starts. Yeah. Kind of, it sounds like a very odd name for a title for an episode, but it at least kind of describes what the heck this episode really is. Uh huh. Yeah, it does. And yes, I'm going to cover the 900th chapter of the manga in this episode. So don't worry, I will not forget to talk about that. Mm-hmm. Alright, so in this particular episode, it adapts the last 10 pages of chapter 860. So, as of right now, they are exactly 40 chapters behind in the manga. Yeah, 40 chapters. That's almost a year's worth of material right there. hmm Yeah. So, pretty much with this episode, this is just, well, a little bit of setup, but actually some action as well, which you gotta appreciate them for doing that. Like, it shows Sanji arriving at the bride and groom's room, which I'm like, okay, I would have thought for a wedding that the bride and groom kept separate to the actual ceremony, but it's Japan, they do stuff differently. Yep. Now, Pudding is wearing a traditional wedding dress. Now, normally, in an American style wedding, the groom is not supposed to see the bride in, in her dress until the actual ceremony. I know, I've gone to two weddings myself. I've gone to at least about 8 weddings so far. The last one I went to was actually to a daughter of one of my mom's coworkers. So, yeah. But okay, if this is supposed to be inspired by Japanese stuff, why in the world is Pudding wearing a traditional wedding dress instead of like a I don't know how we put this, a traditional Japanese wedding dress, like a komodo type of thing? But my guess is that Oda just wanted to do something like this. I don't know why, but that's basically what he did. hmm So it just shows Sanji arriving there, and that's really it for Sanji. You just see him briefly with no dialogue. And of course, you get a chance to live with the Sanji retrieval team where they're just strategizing inside, well, Benj. Showing like the pizza plans of the actual wedding itself. Surprisingly, Brooke doesn't show up in the episode. So I'm like, where the heck is Brooke? As far as I can tell, he's fine. All I can see in this episode of the Strider Crew, aside from, well, Luffy himself, is just Carrot, Chopper, Jinbei, and I think Nami. For some reason, Brooke was absent. Yeah, I don't know why. Just that he was absent. Which, oh yeah, even Pedro's absent. Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise. Yeah, those two characters were surprisingly absent. I mean, they were seen in the previously on the like the film people like what's going to past few episodes that they were shown in that, but in this episode, nope, they were not there at all. So, what goes on basically at the wedding itself? Well, one thing you do see is that you see the Volsmog family arriving, and unlike in the manga, this didn't happen. So, they are basically subject to a body search. They are told to give the weapons. Okay, fine. That is something fine. Okay, but give them the raid suits? Yeah, that is something I don't understand why in the world they said to that, but they did it anyways. Oh yeah, Luffy is off catching animals of seduction woods, which makes it the first time since like early on in the season he's actually been in seduction woods. Last time he was there, he battled Cracker, and it took him a long time to beat. It took him like it seems like about 10 episodes just to beat the guy. Look at him eating a lot of his biscuit soldiers. Yep. And also in this episode, you get a chance to see, well, you actually don't see Katakuri's power in action. You can just see him throw a jelly bean at the guy called Jaga, and then there's two brothers, Oven and Dabu. Oven is Minister of Baking. Dadaku is the Minister of Beans. Oven has the ability to heat stuff. Yeah. And the other guy just turns his body into fog. That is literally what the guy's thing is with him. Oh yeah, and Katakuri has got the color observation hockey, so he can kind of actually read this person's thoughts, what their plan's doing. And they actually do show what Jaga was actually, what his plan was revealed that, like, because his mother had just passed away, so he couldn't attend the actual last tea party. So instead, Big Mom sent him his father's head. Yeah, he was about to say that, then Katakuri killed him with a jelly bean. Yeah, normally a jelly bean wouldn't do that, but my personal guess is that Katakuri must be trained to turn anything into a weapon. He kind of reminds me of Bullseye, where he would turn anything into a weapon. Heck, he even turned a pencil into a weapon, where he just flicked it and bam, or that, or even a paper clip. It's bizarre for him. So after they dispose of all Jaga's, he's also the organ donor. And this is something I thought was really weird. 5 of the Underwood leaders, one of course is a loan shark, a minister, someone from the Queen of the Pleasure District, a president of the World Economic Journal, a warehouse kingpin, and a major undertaker. And this I thought was a little bizarre for One Piece. They decided to do this in a singing number, where if it sounded like all the lines were sung. Heck, even the guy who stuck his tongue out, and no, he's not one of Benji's men, he's one of Big Mom's sons, who's got a bit of a striking resemblance to that of Caesar Clown. Yeah, Caesar Clown's got a tendency to do that too, but not as much as this guy does. So he just sings, and he forms a giant escalator out of candy, just to get these 5 underworld leaders on top of this building really quickly. Oh yeah, and he's very nice enough to give all these kids candy out of the kindness of his heart. I think that's his devil fruit abilities. They can make candy out of nothing. There's that. Let's see what else. Not much else for the episode. It was a pretty interesting episode. Oh yeah, Big Mom's big entrance that she just walks down the hallway, stomping her feet, and open door, bam, there she is. Yeah, and this is also probably the only episode of the whole series where like the Shark Crews are there in the episode themselves, where most of them get like 1 or 2, with the exception of Luffy. They get like maybe 1 or 2 lines that don't speak of Luffy. I think gets like 3 lines the whole episode, which not that surprising. He didn't get much dialogue in the manga either at this point. So yeah. Interesting episode, just to set up for next week's episode. Yeah, that's simply all this one is, just to set up for next week's episode. Yep. Now on to the 900th chapter of the manga, which is called Bad and Musical. And this is probably by far the first chapter not to have an opening cover story. Well, mainly because this is the 900th chapter for the series. I would have thought, something interesting might happen. Not really, no. It's just, well, most of this chapter is just Big Mom eating the wedding cake and finding it delicious. Though for some reason this was really weird. Apparently there's a whole world inside of her throat called, of all things, Pet Cemetery. Which I'm like, did the writer of the series make a nod to a Stephen King book? Yeah, though it's with a C instead of a S. And that's pretty much what that's pretty much the whole reaction to this chapter is Big Mom eating the wedding cake. Of course, there's flashbacks I had before with Sanji, Clifton, and Pudding making the cake. Then making just a couple hours. And of course, after finding it delicious, we also see that while she's eating the cake and making an announcement about Katakuri losing to Luffy, Pudding make a brief cameo in the chapter, aside from the flashback. We also see the Sun Pirates helping out the Straw Hat ship, trying to get away. And then Oven shows up and basically tries to boil the sea. And the big guy who was part of Hondo Jones' crew, he's actually part of this crew, he joined this particular arc. So, oh yeah, and the chateau is still toppled over. So Big Mom is still eating and eating and eating. Like, how long is this going to last for? Yeah, we also get a chance to see the pet cemetery. Yeah, and of course the Big Mom's main ship, just, well, singing, blowing out of the water. See briefly at the German success basically nearly getting wiped out. And see that everything is going like smoothly, trying to get away. It's like, okay, it's like, apparently Big Mom's back to normal size. And thanks to the meal. Yeah, so we've been waiting for this particular chapter for a while now, and this is something I think a lot of people are looking forward to, and it's a bit of a disappointment for chapter. Yeah, for the 900th chapter for the series, the whole thing is just Big Mom eating a cake. Yeah, seriously, that's the whole thing with this chapter. There's a little action scene in this chapter, but mostly it's just a focus on Big Mom eating that cake. And she looks like she eats like a good chunk of it and basically gets restored to her regular size because she had eaten a while, of course she had her tantrum, she had reduced to a thin woman. And now she's back to normal size. She thanks her mother Karma for the meal. And that's really it. It felt like a bit of a quick read, aside from all the stuff going with the Stryads, which that I found to be interesting. Where also Aladdin tells Luffy to take care of Jinbei, which Luffy wouldn't mind doing that. And that's just really it. It's just, yeah, it's a quick chapter, but it's interesting nonetheless. It does end this little plot thread of this particular arc of, well, Big Mom eating this cake. So I kept thinking that this arc was going to wrap up pretty soon. I thought maybe with this chapter would be a good idea, but nope, it's still going to go on. But as far as I know, there's not going to be a new chapter this coming week, so week off from reviewing the actual manga, but as far as I know, there's going to be a new episode of the anime next week, which, that's going to be nice. Excuse me. Aside from that, that's really it. So, since I got a day off tomorrow, I'm probably going to review those 3 chapters of Kokuguri. Okay? But, until I see you in the next video, which I will review next week, which will be the 831st chapter, The Broken Couple, Sanji Pudding Enter. Yeah. That's one thing with One Piece. They got really long names for their titles. Yeah. So there's that. So, until I see you next week for my review episode 831, which will be the 45th episode of this review of this series. Okay? But until I see you there, bye.